again, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for coming back and hanging out with me again for at least a little while. I appreciate you guys coming along for the ride, as usual. All right, so today we've got Jeremy from Within the Week with us. You know, our dead brother from Dead Nation who's been killing it with Within the Week lately. And I've already had Giorgio on. I've already had Mark on. It just made sense to get Jeremy on too. So let's go ahead and give him a ringy-dingy and get him on the line.
Hello.
Jeremy, what is up, my brother?
What's going on, Don?
Dude, you know, same shit, working a lot and just kind of hanging out, trying to do the podcast thing when I can. Thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I understand that, though.
Fuck, dude, it's taken us a long time to get this shit together, but here we are, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've both been we've been pretty crazy with our work schedules lately.
Between work and then, you know, just trying to live life with kids and family and all that shit, man, it's sometimes it's a hard puzzle to put together.
Oh, man, I understand that. I've been trying to do our new songs and all this stuff, and then work, and then kids, and then, you know, trips and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, man, I just don't have time. There's not enough hours in the day.
Yeah, man, I know exactly what you mean. So why don't we go ahead and why don't we have you start out, and just for those in Dead Nation who don't necessarily know you yet, why don't you go ahead and give a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, family life, all that stuff.
All right, ToxicBeetleJuic, or Jeremy. I work at Amazon right now. I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I play drums for Within the Week. I do photography for the Network317.net and the Fusion Press. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I got 6 kids, 3 that I live with and 3 that live in New Mexico. And that's pretty much it.
Damn. That's,
yeah.
I mean, you say that's pretty much it, like, oh shit, no big deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've gotten so used to it now that I'm like, hey, you know, it's 6 kids, it's not a big deal. But then everybody's like, really though? I'm like, oh, okay, it is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, brother, I have 2 kids, and I'm ready to pull my damn hair out sometime with those 2. I can't imagine what it's like even having 3 or 6. I mean, especially if they're all together all at the same time, dude. That's nuts.
Yeah, it gets pretty hectic, but I mean, we went down. Me and Danielle had went down in March and went and saw my other 3 kids in New Mexico, and you know, they all got along, and everybody was just peachy, and I was honestly shocked about it for a little bit, and then, you know, I enjoyed it because I didn't want them to argue and
right.
You know, all that kid stuff. But no, it was a good time.
That's good, dude. I mean, that you know, they can be, you know, kind of like separate families, but still hang out like family and be good with each other. That's cool.
Right. Yeah. My youngest is like, oh, when am I gonna go see my friends? And I'm like, what do you mean you're 3? Like, you're at home, you don't really have friends. But he's like, no, Maggie and Lily, which are my daughters.
Okay.
I was like, oh, we'll go see them again, you know. And he's like, okay, we go now. And I'm like, well, no, it's like 16-hour drive. So
yeah, it doesn't quite work.
I'm not really
that way.
pulling that right now. Yeah.
You can't just up and go see them. It doesn't quite work.
You know,
so,
that $20 gas tank ain't gonna make it there.
Yeah, no shit, right? So, you mentioned that, I mean, you got a lot of other shit going on too, not just family. I mean, not that, you know, 6 kids isn't a shit ton to do, but you've got more stuff. So you've got, Within the Week, which we'll talk about in a minute, but you also mentioned that you do, videography and photography for, and I forget the name of it. Go ahead and tell us some of the experiences you've had and tell us how you got involved in it.
All right, so I do photography and video editing for the Network317.net, and I got into it actually writing the album review for Dead's Misanthrope.
Okay.
So they were like, hey, does anybody want to write an album review, full, you know, from front to back album review of the album? And I was like, well, yeah, I've listened to that, like, you know, at least 30 times by now. Right. I got that stuff down, you know what I mean?
Yep, I sure do.
And so I had wrote it, and I had sent it in, and they had posted it on their website. And then I got like a message a week or so later after it was posted, and they were like, "Hey, do you, do this for a living or anything like that?" And I was like, "Not really. I mean, I do it in my spare time when I'm not working or doing other things. I'll write a little something, a blog or something like that. That's what I initially started doing."
Okay.
And they were like, "Well, do you want to work for us? Or are you working for anybody?" I was like, "Well, I'm not working for anyone. I don't really have the contacts like that, So they were like, "Well, come work for us." And I was like, "Well, do I get paid?" And they were like, "Well, not really, but I mean, we'll set you up with any show for free.
Shit.
And you can interview the artist, if the management allows it." And I was like, "Well, fuck yeah, I love concerts."
Right.
So for free, absolutely, And so I got into it, and my first interview ever, they were like, "All right, we want you to go to Niagara Falls, New York. Dead will be playing with New Year's Day and This Moment in POD, and we will set you up with tickets." And I was like, "All right, cool. I'll go up there and, take some pictures with my phone at the time." I was like, "I just got a phone." They were like, "Oh, that's fine. Just try to do what you can do with it." And I was like, "All right." And then when I get there, they were like, "All right, so we need you to go, after Dead gets off stage, we need you to go interview them." And I was just like, "What?" They were like, "Yeah, they're the biggest thing right now. Like, they're coming up. They're going to be making a lot of moves, and they're going to be blowing up soon. So we need you to go back there and, interview them." And I was like, "I can't do that shit. I've never interviewed a band before in my life. I never interviewed another like employee, let alone like a band." So they were like, "No, it's all right. Just don't, throw up and, don't get real shaky." And so I'm like, "Oh my God."
Don't
They're
throw
like,
up.
and most importantly, like, don't fuck up. And I'm like, "Well,
Right.
I don't even know how this works because I've never done it." And they were like, "No, you'll be fine. Just, hit the camera roll, ask some questions, and, post it online, and, we'll do what we do from here." And I was like, "Okay." So we get there, and I don't know if you've seen the interview. I'm pretty sure you have. Most of the Dead Nation has seen it. The one where we're all freezing our asses off outside in negative 14-degree weather.
Yep.
In the fucking snow. And, it was interesting experience, and it was definitely fun to meet them, but also fun to just have the experience to interview them. And, the company was like, "Yeah, that was your first interview ever?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "You did really good. My first interview was crap, so, I mean, we'd like you to keep doing it." So I was like, "Okay, cool."
Killer.
And then after that, it was like, I think I interviewed All That Remains. I interviewed Phil That Remains from All That Remains. And then after that, I ended up going to shoot photos for them, which I got the last photos of Ollie because that was a week before he had passed away.
Damn, man.
So I ended up getting the last live shots. And whoever was there, that was like the last time they ever got to see him, which was like, to me, it's like a saddening thing because I got to chill with them before they went on stage and, got to kind of talk to all of them for just a second or two. And then next thing I know, like, he passed away, and I was like, damn. And then I started thinking, I was like, well, me and Danielle, we have the last shots of his last performance, so that's kind of cool. But at the same time, it's just a tragedy,
Yeah, it is, man. I mean, it's shitty what happened to him. And, it's just it's a terrible situation when stuff like that happens, when relationships get weird and people just kind of, I don't know, just kind of lose their shit. And, it's like lose your shit and all of a sudden you got to kill people, and that's just not okay. Clearly, but
it's a definite, like, I was shocked. I had a couple tears come up because I was, we were just there, like literally the weekend before. We were just there, like happy as hell.
Right.
We threw on one hell of a show, and it was just like, really though? Like, I had to ask the band, I had to ask, fan pages, I had to Google it. I was like, this isn't really happening. We just saw him. He was healthy, like there's nothing wrong. Like, what's going on right now?
Right.
So that was an interesting thing. But, I mean, stuff happens. I don't know what happened really. Nobody really knows yet exactly what happened, but that was definitely a shocker for me.
Right.
And then after that, we ended up going, I think we went to shoot photos for Jonathan Davis of Korn.
Sweet, dude. That's cool.
Oh yeah, that's my, Korn is my all-time favorite, but they were like, "Hey, we want you to shoot photos for Jonathan Davis." And I was like, "Oh, fuck yes." I was like, "Is it Korn?" They were like, "No, it's Jonathan Davis's solo Black Labyrinth tour." And I was like, I don't give a shit. Let me go. Like, let's
Sign
go.
me up.
Yeah, like, is there a place where I can sign up twice? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and they were like, yeah, Julian K is going to be there. And I was like, Julian K. I was like, you mean the dudes from the original Orgy lineup? They were like, yeah, the 2 guitarists. I was like, holy shit. I was like, those are my 2 favorite guitarists of all time because of the way they did Orgy's music back in the 90s. It was just like epic to me. And they were like, yeah, go shoot photos for them too. I was like, fucking sweet. They were like, but you got to interview them. And I was like, no fucking way. And they were like, yep. I was like, I could die right after this and I'd be totally happy with it. Like, I lived a life, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm calling, like, I have their, phone numbers in my phone still, and, every now and then I'll shoot them a text message or something, and I still fangirl out like some bitch. And they had called me when we were there, and they were like, what are you guys doing? And I was like, well, we're just kind of eating upstairs right now, just trying to get food before you guys, whenever you're ready, just let us know. And they're like, well, we're ready. All right, give me 3 minutes. I'm going to shovel this shit down, and I'll be right down there to interview you guys. And they came upstairs, and they were looking, and they had called me, and I was like, hello? And they were like, yeah, we're up here, and we don't see where you're at. And I just kind of waved to them, and they were like, okay, never mind, we see you. And they came over, and they introduced themselves, like, hi, I'm Ryan Shuck, and I'm Amir. And I was like, oh, no, I know, you don't have to introduce yourself to me at all. Like, I had your posters on my walls, like, I know who you are. Like, you don't have to say shit. And, of course, they were like, all right, yeah, just meet us in a couple minutes. We'll be downstairs. I was like, all right, cool. And, of course, I'm, looking at Danielle. I'm like, my God, that just happened. Like, they just came and found me. Like, I didn't have to do anything. And she was like, calm down. You're fangirling right now. I was like, yeah, but, when you listen to these artists and, musicians, like, for me, when I was younger, I listened to them. On all of Orgy's albums I listened to, and their music helped me get through a lot of tough times. And I was like, when you have artists that help save your life through their music, not just because they interacted with you, but just because of the emotion you can tell that they play in their songs, and it lets you express yourself through their sounds, then yeah, it kind of saves your life. You know what I mean? It gives you something to express yourself to where you're not feeling as bad as it could be. You know what I mean?
Yep, I know exactly what you mean, dude. And that's kind of, there's always a band that comes along. It's very few bands that hit you like that. But when there is a band that comes along like that, dude, and you actually get the chance to hang out with them or meet them or whatever, or in your case, interview, do photos, all that shit, dude, man, that's like the opportunity of a lifetime. And of course, if you're not fangirling over that, you're not doing it right.
Right, and that's what I told her. I was like, if you're not super pumped and almost pissing your pants, then you're not really a fan.
Right, right.
If you're not nervous and your voice is shaky and you have to clear your throat at least 3 times before you start talking, then you're not really too into it.
Right. That's like when I did that interview with Joe. That's kind of that level for me. And when I did that interview with Joe before, man, I was like, holy shit. So I'm doing everything I can. I'm fucking tearing up my basement trying to get everything ready so I can get this interview in, because I know Joe, he's recording and shit, and he's a busy guy. So I'm trying to get all this shit in as quickly as I can. And just relax. Just calm the fuck down. You'll get it. You'll do it. It'll be great. Yeah. But you gotta relax.
Yeah, I always have to take 2 or 3 shots. Not just to get buzzed up or anything, but just to calm the nerves, because every time I'm like, oh my God, this is about to happen. And Danielle's just chill out. And I'm like, you just don't understand. And she's like, no, I get it. You're a fangirl, but you got to relax. And I'm like, I can't relax because this is a big opportunity. I'm meeting somebody that has influenced me from my teenage years to now.
Right.
And I gotta calm down, but I can't do it because it's just, I don't know, it's a starstruck type of situation, I first met Head and Monkey of Korn in 2006, I think it was, or 2003, Ozfest 2003. And I went, they were like, oh yeah, come get your CD signed and say hi or whatever. And I took my CD up to Monkey, and he looked at me and he was like, what's up, man? And I literally was just like, and that was it. And then he passed it on to Head, and Head's like, dude, what's up, dude? And I was just like, hi. And that was it. And then he was like, all right, you have a good day. And I was like, yeah, I was ill. And he was like, what? And I was like, You too. And I just walked off, and it's one of those things that, like, you see these artists and groups, you listen to them, you see them in magazines, you see them on the internet, you see their videos, and you're like, if I can meet them, I would say this and that, and I tell them how much they helped me out and all this stuff. And then when you get there, you're like, yeah, I think I just peed a little.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it.
Yep. And that's kind of the way it was the first time I met Dad, dude. I met him at Route 20, which is, I don't know, like an hour and a half away from here, and they were open for POD, and it was POD Islander and Dead. And man, It was a killer fucking night. It was a great night for music, but man, I just, we walked into the venue, and my buddy who's in radio, he's like, "Oh, hey, dude, come in this way," because he had already walked in ahead of me, and there's fucking Joe standing right there.
Oh,
and I'm
shit.
like, whoa, holy shit, hey, Joe.
Palms get real sweaty real fast. Like, I want to shake your hand, but I'm afraid you're gonna think I'm gross.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just like, hey, man. And he came up and gave me like a nice bro hug, and that was it. And then, they did sound check, and I got to see their sound check, which is pretty kick ass. And then, they came over and they hung out at the bar with us for, I don't know, probably 2 hours before the show.
Oh,
and just,
hell yeah.
Yeah, no shit, right? And just came over, shot the shit, had a good time, had some shots and some beers, and it was a killer time. And then they came and hung out with us afterwards as well. So it was, we got a like a pre-show and a post-show kind of thing with them. And I met Kat there, Tiffany was there, Mindy was there. So there were several of us from Dead Nation there. It was pretty cool.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So you haven't always lived in Memphis, right? You moved recently?
I've moved a lot, yeah. But yeah, I did recently move. I've lived in Memphis since April of last year.
Okay.
But I mean, I have moved so much in so many different states. It's kind of ridiculous.
I know how it goes, man. I moved around a lot, the state of Wisconsin. Then I moved. I'm like, fuck it. I need something different. And I lived in Texas for 7 years. Moved around there for a little while, and then moved back. But I haven't been from state to state. So, let's hit within the week. What's going on with you guys now? Where are you at?
We had just released Arguments, I think, about a month ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, something like that.
Yep.
And that was our first track that I think it actually hits pretty good. Me doing all the editing and, synchronizing and, levels and all that stuff, it gets kind of tedious and gets to where I'm just like, all right, I'm going to take a break. But this one was like, Arguments was like, we have like 10 or 11 songs.
Okay.
And we still have about 5 or 6 more that we got to do. But the Arguments, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to just post it because, Giorgio, he's like, hey, man, it sounds good. Just post it. And I'm like, let me let it simmer for a couple of days. Let me listen to it, to and from work. Let me listen to it on my day off. Let me see if there's anything else that I can do to make it sound just a little bit better. And he was like, oh, all right, and then he'd come back at me the next day like, hey, how's it going? Like, what do you think? Can we post it yet? And I'm like, no, we can't post it yet. And he's like, why? And I'm like, it's not done. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, he's like, I did my guitar parts. What's not done with? And I'm like, everything else. Like, your guitars are good. I made them sound decent, but everything else, the drums, the vocals, especially the vocals, because I think the last one I released with me singing was Useless. And honestly, I do not like the way I sing in that song, so we'll probably, like, during our pro album, I'll redo them. But for the demo, I was just like, oh, that sounds really bad. So I don't really listen to that one all that much. But Arguments, I was like, look, I want to make this legit. I want to make it sound as close to studio quality as possible due to the fact that none of us are in the same room. None of us are using the same equipment. We're all in different parts, and, you kind of lose certain aspects of a song or a track when it's emailed because they have to compress it or whatever.
Right. You lose some of that audio quality for sure.
Yeah, it's not as high quality and it doesn't sound as clear as, if I was to do it and have it on my phone right now, it sounds really good, but once it gets sent to the email, it's kind of dulled down a little bit, so you have to figure out where it messed up at and stuff.
Right.
So
right.
When I finally got it, I was like, all right, drums sound good, guitars sound good, bass sounds good. Now it's vocal tracking time, and it's in the middle of the summer, I just moved, and my studio is in my garage, like in a little storage area off of the garage. Hot as hell. It
Yeah.
is the hottest place in the world.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, let me get in there. And they're like, you gonna do it now? And I'm like, I can't. It's too hot. It's 115 degrees in that little area, and I can't stand up long enough and breathe to sing. So they were like, all right. And so I go in there at like, 7 o'clock at night when it's cooled down a little bit, have the fan on, or couldn't have the fan on after or while recording
Right.
vocals because you hear the fan. So
Exactly.
I'd have to just tough it out. And that's the only one so far that I think personally is like close to studio quality. But now we're working on a song called Still Awake,
Okay.
which is, it's supposed to be like vocally and lyrically, it's going to be a song about the ones that have passed, your loved ones, your family, your friends, anybody that you really cared about that have passed away.
Okay.
And that you can't see anymore, and the only way you can see them is if you're asleep, if you're daydreaming, anything like that. So it's called Still Awake, and it's
Gotcha.
something like that.
Okay.
And we're working on that right now. And I just happened to run in while I'm working at Amazon. There's a guy that works there as well, and he is an audio engineer.
Oh, nice.
That has a 1 year into college, but he's been mixing and mastering recordings for years. He did the guitar for the last Bad Omens album that just came out. While they were in Nashville, they had sent him an email, hey, can you do these guitars because they suck? So he ended up doing all the guitars for it. And he was like, hey, I'll help you out a little bit, I'll teach you some things and whatever. And I was like, all right. I was like, yeah, I'll come over and I'll just see what you're messing with, because, of course I'm not going to believe that. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, this dude's got, all the setup, makes my studio look like a 50-cent Dollar Tree studio. And I'm like, how do you get it to sound like so clear, so like on point? He's like, dude, it's a $500, audio program. I got, all this equipment. I was like, yeah, that makes sense, actually.
Right.
But he was like, if you get the cheaper version, I can send you a template. I can help you out with, whatever you need. If you need to balance it out, if you need to take out static, if you need to do any of that. He's like, hit me up. I'll make your drums sound good. And I was like, okay, and he came over. He was like looking around, listening to what I had going on right now. And he was like, send me the guitar and the drums only on Still Awake. And I was like, all right, I'll send it. And so I sent it to him. He's like, I'll get back to you in like 2 hours. I was like, okay. And 2 hours later, about 3 hours later, he sends me this pre-pro track that he did at his studio with our instruments, or like our rhythms and patterns, but he just redid it all from his stuff. And I'm telling you, when that shit hits hard and it gives you the goosebumps, like, this is like some real stuff, And I'm like, I need to know how you made my shit sound like that. And he's like, just get the program. I'll help you out. Do it all. We'll get you set up. I'll help you get set up and everything. And I'm like,
Right.
You got it, because I want our stuff to sound just like that right there. And he's like, well, you got to get the interface and blah, blah. I was like, I don't care. I'll get all of it. I just need to know how you made it sound like that. So I'm working on that right now.
Nice.
But we have Still Awake we're working on now. We have one called Arctic. We have another one called Headstone. There's one called Chill Pills. We got so many right now that we're just trying to get them down and then release them slowly. But at the same time, we're wanting to finish our EP. We're trying to have like 10 songs. We're planning on doing a straight 90s style new metal album where there's going to be a hidden track in there somewhere, and like maybe an enhanced CD, like you put it in your DVD player and it'll play like a video of us or something like that. So we're also trying to get shirts, stickers, just to send out in bulk with the CDs that people want, because there's quite a few people in the nation that are like, yeah, let us know when the CD's done. We'll definitely get one. And we're just trying to get it ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, that's one thing that, maybe a lot of people don't understand is you don't just go play music, record music, and somebody works magic with it and boom, you're doing shit. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes as far as, developing merch and marketing stuff and, figuring out inventory and what to charge and all that shit, man. There's a lot going on, man.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. I've been searching for like shirts. I'm like, hey, Danielle, she works at, a realtor association. I'm like, hey, who does your guys' shirts? Can you possibly talk to them to see if they can do our shirts?
Mm-hmm.
She was like, yeah, send me the picture you want on the shirt, and I'll talk to them. And so I'm just trying to get prices for all that. And then, of course, we're like, well, we need CDs. We'll need, jewel cases. We'll need album covers. And Danielle's like, well, I can do the album covers. I'll do them at work, and then you can just put them in there. But we're like, still need CDs, still need cases, still need stickers. We're trying to do stickers. I think we were at one point thinking of doing like the little metal pins, and stuff like that.
Sure.
And we've been trying to figure out the merchandise portion of it as well, while we're not doing tracking and stuff like that. But it's not like a one-click button on everything, which is kind of a pain in the ass.
Right. Like,
if I could make this song sound perfect with one click, I'd do that.
Yeah, it's not that easy. I mean, even with the limited shit that I have to do with a podcast, man, it's still editing, and I've still got to fuck with sound, and I've got to bring up levels and bring down levels all on one track, and it's it'd be easier if I could have incoming vocals on one track and my vocals on another. Then I could adjust levels a lot easier. But yeah, man, it's nuts.
Yeah, it's an interesting technique. You know what I mean? Like you have to get your own technique done on that. But yeah, I mean, I've heard all your podcasts, and I mean, whatever you do, it sounds good. You know what I mean? So
I appreciate that. I don't. I mean, it's the recording of the podcast is fucking easy, dude. I just do. I fire up Audacity. I do a Facebook call, record it, bam, done, no problem.
Yeah, but that's the one-click part.
Right, and then there's the doing the actual editing and making sure that everything sounds all right, and I take out the points where I sound stupid, or if there's really long pauses or stuff like that. And a 30-minute long podcast recording can take me 2 hours to edit, and then I have to put it into a video editing software for uploading to YouTube.
Oh yeah, man, that's the biggest pain right there, because I'm like, oh man, this song sounds good. Well, shit, we have to have the actual video in order to put it on YouTube, because we can't just put the song up there with like a blank screen, which I don't see why not. But you can't do that. So now we have to go through. The song's good. Now I have to go through and make a video, which it's not like our last couple of videos that I've made have been like just a static background with our album on it and the song over it. But that takes about 30 minutes, 45 minutes just for that simple stuff. You know what I mean? So.
Yep.
Yeah, I understand the struggle on that for real.
Yeah, man, and then I try and make it as personal as I can too, right? So I try and I tell everybody, I'm like, hey, because it's going up on YouTube, let's throw some pictures of you with the guys and you with living your life and doing all kinds of the stuff. So yeah, man, send me some pictures. I will throw them in. I don't know how soon I'm going to get to edit this one, at this point, because I'm going to be recording with Kyle on Sunday.
Oh, what?
Yeah, dude.
Oh shit! I want to hear that shit. I haven't talked to Kyle in a hot minute. I don't think I've really ever actually talked to him. I got to say hi and what's up when we were in New York, but I don't think I've ever actually talked to him. I talked to Joe and David in the interview, and I think I talked to Matt for a second when I was, doing the meet and greet with them, but I don't think I really got to talk to Kyle, so that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, man. So they're on the road right now. They're headed up to Sturgis. I think they play Sturgis today. I don't know. They play Sturgis sometime. But Kyle's like, yeah, man, we'll work it out and we'll do Sunday night. So I'm excited to get that one done.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So I don't think I've done anything this year yet. Like honestly, like interviews or photos or anything like concert wise. So I'll try to come up with a couple, maybe one or two, you know.
Yeah, if you've got something. I mean, if not, no big deal. I actually put it out there in Dead Nation, and I've got like a list of 30 questions, and I'm like, I can't use all these.
Yeah, no. I've found out that when you're doing an interview with artists or something, it's best to have like 10 to 15 because they do give, you know, explanations and they actually tell you the answers to it. They're not just like, yeah, you know, it's whatever. It took like 5 years. You know what I mean? They go into detail, and it's like 10 to 15 questions is at least 45 minutes. You know what I mean? So exactly,
and you know, I learned that with Joe because Joe totally was like, hey, you know, I'd ask him what I think is probably a quick answer question, and he'd go 3-5 minutes talking about where they were at and how they did this, and all of the story was cool, man. That was really probably, I mean, that's the first big interview I've done, and actually the only one I've done. So I'm kind of stoked for Kyle to see if I can get that same kind of quality. I know Kyle's good for it. We'll see if I am.
Yeah. Kyle's more shy though. I kind of wonder if he's going to be shy during the interview.
Man, I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think so is because I've actually had the chance to, you know, talk to Kyle. And when you get him talking, he keeps talking.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I'm excited for that.
I've noticed in like a couple of interviews from like some other people, they when they have him talking, him and Matt, like Kyle will go on for like a good minute talking about whatever they asked him and stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it. I think after that I'm gonna try and get David and Matt. I'm gonna try and get all the guys if I can. I know they're like fucking crazy swamped, but from what I hear and from what I've, you know, talked with Matt, he's a funny motherfucker, dude.
Oh man, Matt's so fucking hilarious, bro. Like I'll see his Instagram stories and I'll just ask like, what is that, you know, and then he'll just go on with this little comment of like whatever it was, and I'm just like cracking up. I'm like, this is so funny, like,
right?
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
So what else is coming up in your future, dude? What else you got coming up?
Let's see. We got. We were supposed to go shoot for Papa Roach and possibly interview them tomorrow, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, me and Danielle both got promoted at our jobs.
I saw that, dude. Congratulations, man.
I was super pumped about that. Amazon is definitely a good company, and it's not difficult if you put in effort to get promoted. But I figured, I was like, I'm going to be here for like a year and a half, so I might as well try to make the money now as opposed to later. So I just went for it, and they were like, yeah, you know, go ahead. And I was like, sweet, you know, so I got promoted, and then she was like, well, I need to talk to my manager. She got promoted, and now we're just kind of waiting for our checks to roll in with our promotions.
Nice. Congratulations again, man. That's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. It was nerve-wracking because you got to go through the site, and then you got to go for an interview, and then if you pass the interview, that's when they give you the promotion or whatever. It's not like you do the job, you get promoted. You have to actually put effort into going and signing up for the promotion, going to the interview, make sure you're on time, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And it was nerve-wracking for a little bit, but I mean, I got it, so I was like, sweet, you know, that's one thing down. Now all I have to do is work, and I don't have to worry if I'm going to get raises or anything like that. It's just automatic.
Right.
So besides that, I think we're planning to go to see my other children in September in New Mexico because it will be my oldest daughter's birthday. So we're going to try to go down for that. Of course, kids are starting school like next week or the week after or something like that. So all that lovely school shopping for clothes and having them try it on and say that they look hideous or fat in it, you know. And, okay, you know. Of course, they don't like what we like, so
exactly.
You know, so that's going to be fun. Other than that, I think that's. Oh no, the wedding. Me and Danielle are getting married in 2020.
When?
Yes, 2020. We're not sure exactly what month.
Cool.
But this is going to be a huge thing. Like, we're trying to make it like a Roaring 20s theme. We're going to have the wedding in a big distillery that has stage. We are talking to Dropout Kings to have them come play.
Oh, fuck yeah. Get Amy out, or
us.
get Ramy out there, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I've interviewed them a couple times. I've talked to them a few times, and I was like, hey, you guys, we'll pay you like whatever. Just let us know what the price is, and we'll save up just for you guys to come down and just tear it up for us on our wedding.
Right.
And I'm also trying to get within the week to all come down as well.
Hell yeah.
I'm trying to get Mark, Giorgio, Brendan, and I'm trying to get them all to come down. And I'm like, if this is the time to play a show, our first ever show together on stage, it's right now. Like, this wedding is like, I'm going to try to get everybody up in here. I'm inviting the whole nation. Like, if you can make it, make it. If you can't, I understand. But I'm trying to make this thing big because nobody's ever going to see 2020 again. Like, none of us will ever see 2020.
Right. I
don't think anybody in the world in the future, like, nobody's going to ever see it. So I'm like, this has got to be like the biggest like wedding event of all time. I want fireworks. I want people jumping out of planes. You know what I mean? Like, let's do this. I want a monsoon just to have one. I want one just to come in.
you want this to be shit people talk about for a while.
They're gonna be like, man, you should have went to that one wedding. They'd be like, who?
Right.
Like, I don't even know his name, but it was big. Like, but other than that, like, that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we got Seven Dust coming up in the middle of October that we're trying to go see them and interview them possibly. Just pretty much working at Amazon and trying to get the tracks done and trying to get everything we need to make it where it sounds legit, and then we can post them all out and then finish the EP and then send that out. That's pretty much it.
Good deal. It sounds like you have a plan for that, and that's awesome, man. You guys are doing good shit, and I like watching you guys kind of grow and fill in that void. You know what I mean? With with your musical stuff and all that stuff, man. It's kind of cool to know that. That we're all watching you come up from, just kind of a concept into an actual thing. That's cool.
Yeah, and that's a weird concept in itself, because we were, we'll do like, 1 or 2 songs, and then it went to, let's do 5 songs, and now it's like, let's do 10 to 12, and I'm pretty sure by the time the album's almost done, it'll be like, well, let's do 20,
Yeah.
And it's cool. I like it, and you could definitely hear from, Jump to Arguments, like, and in between you could hear the steps that have been taken to make it progressively sound a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit more. And I dig it. I think it's got a good flow, and you could definitely tell from the very first track of like, oh, it sounds all right, and then you listen to the next one and you're like, well, that sounds a little better. You could tell the steps that were taken to try to make it sound as legit as possible. So
yeah, man, you can definitely hear
cool
you can hear the progression as far as just being able to, and it lies a lot of it in the mixing and the editing and doing all that stuff and getting the levels and all that stuff. And you can hear it as you go through and you listen from one to the next to the next.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, I've been surprising myself each one. I've had to, upgrade my studio a little bit.
Sure.
Went and got some studio monitors so I can hear every little thing that's going on in the song. And I think it was after that I was like, oh yeah, this sounds a little bit better, and let me just tone this down a little bit, and it all kind of just flows in itself. So I was like, all right, this is what I needed, but now I need this other stuff, and it's just a slow progression. But I think in a couple of weeks we'll be able to release was it Still Awake, and that should sound pretty close to how it's supposed to sound from a real studio,
Yeah, that's cool. And I know that we're all looking forward to hearing more and more from you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it too, because every time we put a song out, we're like, I wonder if the nation's going to like it. And there's never any bad stuff, except, what was that guy's name?
What the fuck was that
John
dude's
Smith,
name?
I think, with the Matt Madigan stuff. Oh my God!
Madigan.
Let's talk about that for a second. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
This guy came out of left field, out of nowhere.
I can't believe we almost missed talking about that. Because we're all part of it.
Oh yeah, he just dropped it all. Like this guy gave no fucks.
Right.
He was there for a minute and he was literally gone the next. And this guy tripped me out because he posted a meme or whatever about when you want to hear new Dead stuff, but you have to listen to within the week.
Yep.
I was like, at first when I first heard, I was like, well, who's this asshole? But then I was like, he knows who I am. You know what I mean?
Right. He just made a fucking
like,
meme out of us.
Yeah, I was like, he made a meme out of us. This is awesome. And, there's other people commenting. I've never even heard of them, but I'm going to go check them out. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. So I hit him up, actually, like, in his private message. I was like, hey, thanks for, giving us a little bit of a bump to, have more people listen to us. I was
Right.
like, do you mind making another meme? This dude comes back with a song. And it is the most god-awful thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
And he trashed everybody, and I was like, no, bro. Like, I even, I was talking to within the week, the guys in chat, and I was like, have you heard it? And they were like, no. And I was like, you better hear it before it gets taken down. So I'm sending it to Mark, and I'm sending it to Giorgio, and I sent it to Matt. And here's the thing. He only mentions Mark and Matt in the song, which Matt hasn't done anything so far in any of our tracks. But he left me and Giorgio out, and we're like, I'm the one that sang through like 3 out of 4 songs. Giorgio plays guitar, and you didn't even mention either one of us. And we told him that, and he was like, well, I didn't really read into it and see who was all in the band. I was like, well, if you're going to diss something, at least make sure you're doing it correctly, even though you sound like trash.
Get fucking everybody in there, man.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to go all in, and when I heard it, I was like, did you hear, like, he's mentioning the Nation, and he's mentioning Don, he's mentioning Angie, like, he's mentioning all these people. And I was like, I definitely didn't approve of that. I was like, I don't mind. And I sent him a message. I was like, I don't mind if you mess with me. I don't mind if you mess with the band. We can take it. We don't care. Have at our, whatever. You think our music sucks, our image sucks, whatever. Just bring it to us. Don't start bringing it to our family, because they weren't a part of it. You get no Dead Nation was a part of within the week's stuff, So I was like, when you're starting talking trash about everybody else, that's when me, Mark, and Giorgio and Matt, we all just went at him. And then Danielle even went at him, and it was like, damn. And then Danielle started feeling bad. She was like, well, I hope this guy doesn't go like hurt himself or, get real upset about it. And I was like, well, I mean, if he can't dish it out, and if he can't take it, he shouldn't dish it out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was like, none of us are serious. None of us are going to go hurt him or anything. We don't care, but we're just, we're dogging him about the same stuff he was dogging us about, saying our singing sucks or saying your rapping or whatever that was sucked. Your rhyming scheme is bad. And then, the admins popped up and they were like, hey, we kicked him out, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I mean, that's good, because I didn't want any confrontation for the rest of the fans in Dead Nation to, be a part of something that they had no idea was going on.
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
But that was interesting.
I think he's a troll. I think he kind of goes probably from group to group and kind of does stuff like this, and just to get people worked up, man. There's people that they get off on that stuff, and that's what they like to do, and that's how they like to be known, as kind of a shit stirrer. So
if you look at his track, he's got like more views on his track and listens on his track than some of our within the week tracks. And I'm like, really though? And Giorgio was like, yeah, but everybody's listening to it to see how bad it is. I'm sure they didn't listen to it twice. And I was like, Giorgio, I know you've listened to that shit like 10 times.
Right.
And you're like always adding he's editing the videos, and he always hits the Matt again, like in like almost all of them. And it cracks me up. I think it's hilarious, but Matt is he's like over it. He's like, well, geez, thanks guys. And we're like, hey, it's just fun, And it's just, that was like one of the most interesting things that's happened for us, for sure. And I don't think we got any more subscribers, or we got a couple more views on certain songs, but I mean, it's something, a little extra that we didn't do, so that was cool.
So one more thing, dude, you had the opportunity to hang out with some of the Dead Nation fam earlier this year at a festival, didn't you?
Oh yeah, Epicenter.
Yeah, how was that, dude?
Hot as a motherfucker. It was so bad. It was cool to actually meet the Nation, because I've met Andy and Nikki a I met them last year at Live on the Lawn when we did the All That Remains.
Okay.
But meeting Melinda and Laura and oh my goodness, I feel so bad for forgetting everybody. I met Darcy and stuff.
Darcy,
so
and I'm actually looking at a picture right now, and this is what made me think of it. So I see Andy, I see Nikki, I see Melissa, I see Melinda, I see Laura's hand.
Yeah, her hand. Dawn. Yeah, you could tell because it's got the metal.
Yep. I see Dawn and I see Darcy.
Yes, there we go, Dawn and Darcy. Yeah, that was badass. Like honestly, I was like. I walked up, they were texting me through Messenger. They're like, "Hey, Jeremy, where are you at? Are you coming or not?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm making my way right now." Where we parked or where we had to camp was like a mile and a half or so away from the actual door for the venue.
That's a walk,
so, dude. Oh, man, and it was uphill half of the way, downhill the other half, and we're like, oh, my goodness. Hot is 95 degrees or something like that day. Danielle's about to pass out because she's like, I'm just not used to this heat, all this cardio, she's
right.
like, I can't do it. And I'm like, all right, just take a break, take some water in, and then we'll keep pushing. And then when we finally get there, we walk through the door, get scanned and all that stuff. We walk through the little gate thing, and there's 3 stages, and I'm like, well, which one is dead end? And I'm looking around at the big stages, Epicenter and the monster stage.
Right.
And I look over to the left, and I just see the dead banner. It's hanging down, the album cover banner. And I was like, that's where it's at. So we start walking there, and I walk halfway through the crowd going up to the stage, and I just hear, Jeremy! And everybody's raising their hands and waving and looking, and then there's random people, yeah, Jeremy! And I'm like, I don't know you. I know them, though. And everybody's, drunk already. It was only like, I think 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's already tanked. I'm like, all right, hey, what's up, everybody? And then I get there, and, oh, let's take a picture, let's do a video. Oh, blah, you want to shop? I'm like, oh, no, I'm glad to meet all of you. This is a lot for me to take in right now. Let me get some faces. Let me see everybody. There's about 8 to 10 of you guys, so all right, And so we mobbed the front gate, and Dead hits the stage. I went live, I think, for maybe 3 or 4 minutes or something like that, just to, show the nation, that, hey, we're here, they're on stage. And then I kept getting knocked into because Dead, of course, throws one hell of a show, and people are moshing, crowd surfing, and it is, I'm getting hot, sweaty just because all the bodies touching me, everybody's breathing on me, and I'm like, oh, goodness, I can't breathe myself. And Joe came down off the stage and got right in our faces. Like, he just saw all of us in that one little area and just got right in our faces and just started screaming. And it was pretty badass. It was definitely an experience. And but I mean, after that, it was, where do you guys want to meet up next? Which one are you going to? And everybody at that point had different artists they wanted to see. Like, some were like, I'm going to see Bad Flower.
Right.
Some others were like, I'm going to go see Meshuggah. And I'm like, all right, well, if I run into you, I run into you. I mean, there's 80,000 people. I was like, right. I'm sure I'll find you, somewhere, And, they went to meet the guys afterwards because there was a meet and greet.
Yep.
And I didn't have the funds at the time to do it, so I was like, I've met them, I've interviewed them, I've got them to sign some stuff. I would like to say hi now, but I just can't. I'll wait until next time. And then I gave them all within the week cards, and was like, here's the only thing that we have right now are business cards that, for some odd reason, don't have our YouTube link on the back. They don't have our Facebook name on the back. They don't have really anything. It's just our logo and our album cover.
Right.
And I told Giorgio, I was like, hey, maybe next time try to clip a little link in there, just so people know where to go. And he was like, oh, shit.
Yep.
I was like, don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yep.
And we went, and then the next day it was, we went to, me and Danielle, and we were there with her sister and her sister's boyfriend. And we went to see Motionless in White. And we're moshing, all the sand's getting kicked up. We leave the mosh pit, our faces are black and brown because of all the sand and dirt,
right.
And it's all in our nose, all nasty. And we're like, well, we're here for another couple of days, so no shower for us, let's get used to sleeping in this filth, No joke. They leave the stage, tornado warning.
Yeah.
They're on the big billboards, it's like evacuate immediately, go to the nearest exit, go back to your campsite, or go to shelter. And we're like, what? And we look up and we're like, it's sunny as hell. What are you talking about? And then we look over to the left, and it's almost black clouds.
Yeah.
Just speeding towards us, and we're like, oh, okay. So we leave, go to this NASCAR type of situation, like there's a big concrete building. We go over there, it just starts pouring rain. You know, they're evacuating 80,000 people, so everybody's getting soaking wet, trying to run. And we're just like, oh my God, what? And then they're like, the rest of the day is canceled. So we were like, oh, no Tool,
right?
No, 311,
right?
No more like anything. We're leaving. So we ended up just heading home, packed up our stuff, and we're out. You know, but pictures that I saw from the venue page, the venue got tore up a little bit from the wind gust and the rain and stuff like that. So
yeah, I saw that.
I was like, all right, well, it was fun while it lasted. You know, we saw Dead, we partied, had some beer, had some shots.
Right.
You know, we're good. We're out. So we just ended up leaving at that point.
Yeah, man, I don't know what the hell it is with festivals this year, man, but it seems like with all the festivals, I went to Rock USA, and then Rockfest was going on at the same time, both in Wisconsin and just on, a couple hours away from each other on opposite sides of the state, man. But Rockfest got hit, they got evacuated, then bam, we got evacuated at Rock USA, so I got to miss Zombie, which sucked balls because that was it's one of the bucket list bands I've got. And then the next day was hot as balls, so hot. It was 98 degrees, and with the heat index, it was about 108. Man, whoa, it was rough.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no shit, it was rough, but made it through and still had a good time. But dude, it seems like that's the theme for festivals this year is get ready for the tornadoes.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing because we were supposed to hit another one, incarceration or something like that. Yeah. And we didn't end up having the funds to go, so we were like, fuck it, we'll just pass on this. And it ended up I think it got rained out for one of the days as well or something like that. And it's just like, really though? Like, why is every festival, and I'm hoping Louder Than Life doesn't get rained out it did last year.
Yeah.
But it did get rained out last year, so I'm like, it might get rained out this year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just don't understand that. They choose these dates, and I mean, they make the dates 6 months to a year ahead of time.
Exactly.
So it's not like they know.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, why does the world hate metal music right now?
Exactly. Exactly. Why does Mother Nature want to piss on our fucking festivals, man?
Right. Every one of them, too. And I see, all the other ones, Rock Allegiance is going to happen. And I hope that one doesn't get rained out either, because that's supposed to be in this month, I think, or next month, something like that.
Okay.
And I'm like, I hope that doesn't get rained out, because, honestly, if it's, in the wintertime and it gets rained out, it's going to be cold and wet. And that's a whole nother monster.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
I heard you and Mark talking about your wife and then his girlfriend at the time, and you guys got together at young ages or something like that, or knew each other at young ages?
Yeah, I've known my wife since high school. So, and now I'm going to be 51 this year. It took us forever to get together, but it'll be 10 years, August 29th.
Hell yes. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Me and Danielle have known each other and dated when I was 11, she was 10.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, she was my first little girlfriend, the quote unquote, that's my girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
We held hands and went to the movies and shit. And we ended up splitting up when I moved. I was about to turn 12. And we ended up moving out of the city that she was in. And she ended up moving out of state a little bit later. And then, whatever happened between the age of, 11 till I think 28, 29.
Okay.
Then, we got back together. We've been together now, currently for 4 years straight. And it's been pretty cool because it's one of those things when you know them at such a young age and then you meet them later in life and it's this is kind of my soulmate because you're pretty much just like me, or the exact opposite, which isn't always a bad thing.
Right.
So it's kind of cool because like I haven't met anybody that's like her. She makes me laugh to where I cry and almost piss my pants, and I do the same for her, and that's great. You know what I mean?
Yep, I do. I sure do.
She's my yin to my yang or something like that,
Yep.
whatever that phrase is.
Nope, that's exactly
And
right.
it's pretty cool because I didn't ever think that I would meet somebody like that. Kind of like when me and my ex split up, I was like, I'm good. Like I'm over it right now. Like I don't really care. And then Danielle had hit me up and she was like, hey, what's up? She hit me up once a year for like 6 years prior to that happening. And I was like, oh, about to have a kid. We just moved out of state. We're moving to New Mexico. We're not living in Texas. All that. I tell her, pretty much a quick story of whatever the year had done, or 2 years, just depending on when she hit me up. And
Right.
we ended up getting together, and it was pretty much the best thing that's ever happened for
Killer.
my life, stuff like that. So when I heard you guys talking about it, I was like, oh, dude, that's so cool because it's kind of like me and her, like it's all kind of the same scenario. You
Right.
met when you were younger, got together when you're older. Awesome.
Yeah, man, it's cool when stuff works out like that. Sometimes you just gotta appreciate what you have and where it came from and how long it took to develop sometimes.
Right. Absolutely. Other than that, I mean, I don't know. So you want to talk about a little bit of the You Matter movement that is going on right now?
Sure. I know what I know about what I do, and I try and keep up on some of the other stuff that other people are doing too. But if you've got something that I haven't maybe seen, I'm all for it.
I haven't really done much with it. I try to keep it more personal, I guess. If somebody's having a bad day, like one of the bandmates, or if I see somebody in the Dead Nation is having a bad day, I try to send them a little something, let them know that I could talk. I'll talk to you, whatever, if you want. Personally, I think it's a great thing that so many people in Dead Nation are so willing to talk.
Yeah.
Due to the fact, like, I've been bipolar since I was 6. Tried killing myself multiple times. After the 13th time, I was like, I'm over it. I'm obviously here for a reason.
Yeah, you are.
So, like, there's a lot of things that go through a lot of people's heads that they're not very sure on what to do. They're not sure where to look, who to turn to,
Right.
all that shit. So it's an interesting thing, and it really touches home for me because my first daughter passed away at, I think, 13 days old.
Oh, man,
15
I'm
days
sorry.
old, something like that.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, that was a little over 10 years ago. I'm more willing to talk about it now. If you would have asked me, a year or two, maybe even 5 after that, you couldn't get me to talk about it at all.
Right.
But that one of the hardest things that most people that have kids would have to go through. People that don't have kids don't really understand.
Right.
But it's not an easy thing to have your child just pass away. It wasn't like she was alive for very long. She had a couple of birth defects. She had a heart defect and a genetic disorder in general. So we knew prior to having her that we might have to let her go anyway.
Okay.
But it's just the fact that, she passed away, like, laying next to us. Like, we didn't just, like, it didn't just happen when she was asleep type of thing. You know what I mean? She just kind of, we had to let her go, and we had to plan all this stuff and do all this stuff. So after that, of course, depression kicked in super hard.
Sure.
And then slowly losing family members, of course, everybody gets upset with that. So it's, the You Matter thing is a real big thing for me, just because I know that at any point in time, somebody could have something extremely bad that they might not think that they can live through, but they need to know that it's just a hard time. You'll make it through it. It's just going to be difficult. And, people look towards God. God saved me to do this, and God helped me to do that. That's fine. But honestly, like, the majority of the time that I've thought about it over the last couple of years, it's not really a God that helps you. It's you. You've pushed yourself through that. Nobody really helped you except you. So you should give yourself props. Be proud of yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
you did that. You killed that monster that was eating you up inside, or that was bugging you, or anything like that. And
Right.
I think people need to give themselves more props and know, it's not the end of the world, even though, trust me, it seems like it. It seems like there's nothing else that will matter, nothing else that does matter at that point, and it gets bad. Like gets to the bottom of a barrel, and you don't think you can swim out of it, but trust me, you'll get some fins, and you will swim right out that bitch and jump right over. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I really enjoy seeing people like, hey, thanks for helping me out, and people, of course, no problem, all in the Dead Nation. It's just amazing thing, because I've had some, over the last couple weeks, I've been pretty down. I don't know why, but I've been down, and I keep it all to myself, which most people do. And when they do reach out to somebody or a group or a person, and they're like, hey, I'm having a rough time, could you help me out? Could you talk to me? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Please try to do it, because it takes a lot for somebody to do that. I don't even do that. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm keeping myself. I'll handle my own business. I've been doing it for years. But if somebody does do that, like, absolutely, I'm like, yeah, I will absolutely talk to you. We can take 3 hours and talk. Don't give a shit.
Right.
I want to make sure you're all right, because if you're asking me, that's a lot to just ask a person in general when they're feeling that bad. And the bandmates have helped me out a couple times. Nicole, she has talked to me a couple times, and I'm like, I feel a little bit better, not 100%, but at least I'm not where I was. So
right.
Yeah, I think the Dead Nation is definitely a badass group of people. I wouldn't even call them, like, I know they're Dead fans, but to me, that's just my family. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
They're here no matter what. Like, if you went and shit down the fucking wall of somebody's house, they're supporting that. Yeah, good for you. Yeah, absolutely, bro. You go piss on that wall too.
I think you hit on something important, though, and maybe it's something that a lot of people don't stop to think about, is that when people are down, man, the last thing anybody wants to do when they're down is they don't want to dump their shit on somebody else. Right. They don't want to bring somebody else down with them, and it takes a ton of fucking courage to go out and tap somebody on the shoulder and say, hey, can I talk to you for a little while so I can get some shit out of my head? It's so hard to do, especially when you need to do it most. And I think people who reach out need to be applauded, and the people who haven't reached out either haven't reached that point yet, or can handle it, or some bad shit is going to happen. I mean, I think it's only three options there. And I always, that's what I try and put out there. I always want people to be like, yeah, I was able to reach out to a friend. And when I throw that You Matter stuff out, and when I throw out the, the positivity and, hey, do this, don't forget that you're loved and all that stuff. I want people to take that, and I hope that even if it's one person one day who sees something like that and they're like, fuck, I really needed that today. That's what I
absolutely. I've seen it a couple times, and I'm like, I keep, like I said, I keep all my stuff to myself. Like, if I see a post that's really positive, if I don't like it, I still see it. You know what I mean? I try to like everything, but sometimes I forget or whatever. It just doesn't go through. But every time I'll see like your post, I'll see Mark's post. Mm-hmm. Sometimes other people throw it out there too. And it's every single time I'm like, I definitely needed to read that, hear it. Like, I hear it in my head, whatever. I definitely needed that at that point in time, because you just never know. Like, right now, somebody could be having like the worst day ever, and all they're wanting to do is just read something saying that they will be okay. You know what I mean? That everything's going to be fine. Yeah. Don't worry about it. I mean, it's going to be hard, and it could take years. Like with me, it took like at least 5-6 years. And, it's one of those things where if they read it, that's all they needed. Just, it might make them go through just that day, but at least it's one more day. You know what I mean? Right.
Exactly. And that's you kind of have to look at it like with the AA one day at a time mindset. I make it
Right.
through today. There's always tomorrow, and if I can make it through tomorrow, then there's the next day, and the next thing you know,
Absolutely.
it's years down the road. But you've been doing it one day at a time, and that really does come true, or speak volumes rather, with this too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with Jeremy and I today. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you guys. Nothing but love for our dead fam. Hope you guys stay tuned for the next one. I don't know who it's going to be yet, so we'll see what's going to happen. I like to try and get these out bi-weekly if possible, but sometimes life happens, and shit goes a little south, so it might take a little longer. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and making this what it is. Thanks, guys.